welcome back to my channel. So today I finally got Ramses to sit down and do a video. We always want to do videos together, to be honest. Like, we're always like, oh, we should do this video, we should do this video. But you know, with kids and the tag teaming.
Hi everyone, I'm happy to be here, happy to be talking about things related to being a homeschool dad and kind of sharing a little bit of my side and what I do and how I help support our homeschool.
Today's video is going to be about homeschool kind of FAQs, so frequently asked questions that we get, and not only we get, but I think in general homeschool parents, families get. And this is a video that you can send to family, friends that you might be homeschooling, or you might know someone that's homeschooling, and you know, you want them to have a little bit more information. Maybe you don't know how to exactly explain certain things, or maybe you're just getting started in your homeschool. And you know, us now, we have a 10-year-old, or no, almost a 10-year-old. We have a 9-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 4-year-old, and we've been homeschooling since the beginning.
A little bit about us: we are a homeschool secular family. That means that we don't follow a particular religion or a particular dogma. We are secular in our education. We are focused on evolution, science, math, and there is no religious fear or religious component into our education.
And then to touch on the secular bit a little more, there are secular homeschool families that do have a religion that they practice in their family, but they seek out secular curriculum because, as you guys may know, if you are following any big homeschool creators or homeschool creators that might have a big following, the majority, I'm gonna bet, they are Christian-based homeschoolers, meaning that they're not just Christian and they homeschool. It means that they use a Christian-based curriculum. They do more of a creationist type of science and of evolution and stuff like that. So when you see creators or other people that share their homeschool curriculum or life or their family, and they say they're secular, that just means that, you know, what they teach is coming from more of a non-religious, more evolution-based, or maybe they have their own religion that they, you know, follow, so they don't buy or use any Christian homeschool curriculum. So I hope that kind of clears things up. I know it can be a little bit confusing.
And I do want to be clear that we are not anti-Christ, anti-God, or anything like that. We just choose to teach our children about all religions. Okay, so now we're going to get into the questions.
How long does it take? Usually what this means is how long does it take during the day? Because you send your kids to school, drop them off at 7, 8, you pick them up 2, 3, 4 o'clock, right?
See, I thought that too initially, like, wow, how are we gonna find all these things every day to be able to keep their attention for 6 to 8 hours? And then I realized that that's not realistic. In school, there's so many breaks, there's so many kids, there's so many students, and it's completely different when you're doing homeschool because the ratio of teacher to student is much smaller. Therefore, you can focus on things and get through them a lot faster.
So typically we can spend anywhere from an hour to 3 hours on school. We have 3 kids, and that includes, you know, doing preschool with our preschooler, doing our core subjects with our 3rd grader and 4th grader, and then doing a project or 2, some read alouds. Let's say we have something going on, we'll do just core subjects and morning work, and that should take us about an hour, even a little bit less. As you guys know, if you have kids, you know, it's just kids be kids, you know, so sometimes things take a little longer because we have a situation, because something happened, because we need to sit down and have conversations about a fight or about whatever's going on. So if we're having a just normal, easy breezy time, it can take about 2 hours. If we're doing extra projects, if we're taking breaks to go outside, if we're doing extra stuff that day, we have the time, it can take us about 3 hours at the most, to be honest. Sometimes we split it up. We'll do an hour and a half of certain things, we'll break for lunch, and then we'll do another hour and a half after to finish up. Obviously, if you have more kids, it might take you a little bit longer. And then as they get older, they start to be more independent, so I can, you know, kind of give them things, or they can do things on the computer. I would say it evens out because the younger they are, they have a shorter attention span, so you don't want to spend like too much time. You want to have lots of breaks, lots of play-based stuff, so that they are still learning but obviously moving around. And then as the older they get, they're more independent, so they can kind of do things on their own. So depends on the age and the amount of kids, but yeah, I would say about 3 hours at the most, 1 hour at the least with our 3 kids.
And also, to be honest, it's going to depend who's home. Her mom will come, she'll help with our youngest who's in preschool, and it really, you know, gives Lily time to focus on the older two. If I'm here, I love engaging with my little one and I love teaching her stuff, so I will pull her to the side and I will do school with her. And in that case, you know, school will get done faster. So it's really about what resources and how much help are you going to have, and also how involved is your spouse going to be, you know, because that matters.
Another question about time that we get is how many days a week? Do you guys follow a public school schedule? When you homeschool, you obviously have to kind of go through your state laws. Arizona is pretty lenient. I think you just have to, I haven't checked the laws lately, but you have to just do the same amount of days of school that public school, which is 180 days. And the way we homeschool, we do year-round homeschooling. We do 4 days a week of school, and then we take a week off every 6 weeks. We take a longer break in the winter and a longer break in the summer, but we don't do traditional starting in August, ending in May, having the whole summer off, you know, and all. We don't take all the same breaks that the public school takes. So we do what works for us, and sometimes, yeah, we do 2 weeks or we do 3 weeks if we need it. But for the most part, the past 4 years or so, since the kids have been, you know, in the first, second, third, fourth range, we have been sticking to that 6 weeks on, 1 week off schedule.
And to me, that makes so much sense. It was like an aha moment where you're like, okay, well, they're going to school year round. Like, I always remember from when I was a kid having that long summer break and coming back to school and taking like a week, 2 weeks to like get back and kind of refresh everything that I learned. So as a parent that went to public school their whole life, really just see how this makes so much sense of doing school for 6 weeks and then a week off. And during that week off, it's a week off for them, but it's not a week off for us. We are gonna evaluate what they like, what worked, what didn't work, and then what we're gonna do. And really, like 9 times out of 10, we kind of continue with what we were doing and, you know,
switch out a few things here and there, yeah. Okay, and the next big question that I get often, especially when I introduce myself and like if I meet somebody new and I tell them that we homeschool, the reaction is a lot of the time like, oh my God, like how do you do it? Like I can't even get my kids to listen to me when I'm helping them with homework, or I can't even get my kids to do this activity with me. The question makes me a little uncomfortable because I don't want to come off as like, oh, well, yeah, it's perfect and they listen to me all the time. Yeah, we have our issues. We've tried different things, different ways to help have a good communication with our kids. Just overall, I feel like homeschooling is just a part of our lives. It's not like, okay, it's time for school now, everybody be quiet, do this, do that. I'm teacher now, I'm not mom. I feel like it's the same thing. I've always tried to just have a good rapport with the kids, kind of just let them know why we do certain things, and you know, sometimes if they don't agree or want to do certain things or their attitudes are not the best, I'm not here to just like shame them and tell them to go to their rooms. Like a lot of the time there's an unmet need, and yeah, sometimes they just want a break. So I feel like that's my energy when it comes to that question, is that, you know, I just try to be the same parent like all throughout our homeschool and like our regular lives.
And some things that have definitely helped is developing a routine and letting our kids know what's going to happen ahead of time. So initially when they were younger and we first started, they would have checklists, they would have their journal, they would have all these tools that we developed to help them get organized and plan ahead.
They make their own checklist now.
So now they're at a point where our older two make their own checklist and they prioritize what they want. However, they know that at 9 o'clock in the morning, school's going to start. Or they can say, hey, this is going on right now. Can I do this before we start? And we adjust and pivot. And that's the great thing about homeschool, that it's very flexible. And you have to give your children that space and open channel that they feel comfortable with you and they don't feel like they're being talked down to or shamed, like Lily said. So I feel like that is a big component of having that dynamic, that they feel safe, they feel validated. And I think that's an important thing to highlight, that we are their parents and their teacher at the same time. We're both, and that role is interchangeable any time of the day, not just when we're in the classroom.
And touching on the flexibility aspect of it, I feel like most homeschoolers kind of realize at a certain point that there has to be some sort of routine, some sort of flow to the day. Not super rigid, but also not like just do whatever you want. We like to, give them warnings, let them know, hey, this is what's going on. Hey, we're running a little late today, but look, we're gonna start school at this time.
For this reason.
Or, whatever it may be. I think that is always helpful for kids, to give them a warning, give them a little heads up. Just like we appreciate that as adults. We try to respect their time and have boundaries with each other.
And also there's certain things that are non-negotiables, which they clearly understand as far as the parent, teacher, student dynamic.
Right, and a lot of the time, if they're like, oh, I don't want to do that, or I don't like doing that. A lot of the time it's like, oh, well, why? How could we make it more fun? How could we make it more enjoyable? Or I'll say, okay, well, look, once you're done with that workbook, you don't have that much left, just finish it up. Or once you're done with this assignment, or, just do 5 more, or whatever it is. Or sometimes we just have to say, like, hey, sorry, it's just a concept that you need to practice, and it might not be your favorite, but it's important. Let's just do like 3 more, and then I'll help you do the next 2, and then you do the last 2. So it's a lot of give and take. And the last thing I want to say also about flexibility and stuff, it sounds great, but if you don't have some sort of routine flow to the day, to the school day, also that's important too, that we tell them, these days we're doing school this week, these days we're off of school. So when we're off of school, we don't really have a routine. We don't really have, except for like meals and stuff, kind of like parent days, like the kids have a lot of free time. They do get their iPads on non-school days. Tell them, that certain things need to be done before they can, get on the screens and stuff. But we all know that if things are just too flexible and too, out of flow or routine, it can get a little stressful. At least for me, it can get a little hectic. At least for me, I need to have some sort of structure. I mean, being a former teacher, being in public school, I still have that, in the back of my mind. I also have ADHD, so it's kind of like I need to know what's going on and just have a checklist and just, get those things done, and then they can do whatever they want for the rest of the day, kind of vibes.
A balance for sure. And I think some key takeaways is flexibility. For example, if they don't want to do something, but it's something that's non-negotiable, we're going to work with them and see how can we do it. Can we leave it last? Can we do it first and get it out the way? So that's an example. Another one is with our toddler and keeping it age appropriate. With our 4-year-old, if she is in a bad mood, if she is saying that she's, not feeling it, or we're not going to force it with our 4-year-old, because what is she going to learn when she is upset, when she's emotionally dysregulated? She's not going to retain much. So in those cases, it's where we say, all right, well, we're not going to do school with you today, but we're going to go outside. And then, that's an example of how you're flexible and it's age appropriate.
So that's out of all that. Keep it flexible, keep a communication.
And certain things are going to be non-negotiable.
Creating boundaries for everyone and
planning ahead and letting them know what's coming.
What's coming, yes, exactly.
And the next FAQ that we often get is, how expensive is homeschool? And honestly, it can be as expensive as you want it to be, or as non-expensive as you want it to be, depending on what resources, what curriculum, and all the tools that you use.
So, in this day and age, there's so much information out there. The internet, yes, it can be a dark place, but for sure, there's so many free resources. There's so many affordable resources. You can get curriculum that gives you everything, every subject for the whole grade, for the whole year. That's going to cost you $1,000. But yeah, it's open and go. You don't have to really plan for much. You just kind of do it, right? And then you can also find curriculum that you can buy online. It sends it to your email and you can print it at home, send it to get printed for $50. So it's really what you prefer.
Also, when you do purchase something that's digital, you can recycle it and reuse it. You can also do that sometimes with traditional coursework and like that all-inclusive that they send you everything, because you can just go and purchase the workbook for that specific thing. So that's also something to consider, because it is a big investment if you do buy a open and, is that what it's called?
Open and go.
And like Lily said, there's so many resources available online. For us, what we found is that we like to take a little bit from different areas. For example, we use Singapore math, and then we use the logic of English, and then we also use Torchlight. And that's kind of an example of blending 3 different things that work for us and that our kids enjoy. I think at the end of the day, this is about getting as much input from your child, from your learner, and tailoring the education to meet their needs.
Yeah, so I think if anyone wanted to homeschool, like, I'm glad we're homeschooling in this day and age, because I don't know something, I can just Google it. We can ask Alexa. We can find out so much information. It can be overwhelming for sure. So definitely sticking to Pinterest, sticking to YouTube. Those are free. I learned so much on YouTube, hello, and I've seen so many other homeschool moms make content and kind of share about their schedules and about their curriculum and about how they, deal with certain things, and I take a little bit from everyone, and make it our own. So I hope that this is kind of that situation for us as well. Like, homeschooling is tailored to your family and your child, so it's definitely nice to be able to go and find worksheets for free and go on Teachers Pay Teachers and find curriculum for $5 on a whole unit, on geography, on the 50 states, on pretty much anything your child could be interested in. So I think that now, no, it's not that expensive. Also, use the library. The library is there for you for free. They want you to read, take books home. They want you to do it so much that it's free. If you have access to the library, to books, to the internet, you can homeschool for pretty much free.
Yeah, and for me, I really enjoy Teachers Pay Teachers, TPT, because you're giving back to teachers and you're giving back to the community and you're helping them out. And the content that I've seen on there, I've never been really disappointed with TPT, because it's actual professional educators that are licensed that use this in school. And then also it's accessible and you can just download it and it's ready to go.
And we saved the best for last.
Mwah.
Mwahaha, socialization.
And I think that was probably one of the biggest factors for me to think about when we were considering homeschool and way back. But it was really coming from outside sources, like my friends, our family, a lot of people that I worked with as well, that just didn't really know anything about homeschool, or they knew the stigma of the
I knew this one weird kid in high school.
Or it came with that negative stigma of, oh wow, they're very hyper religious, or they're gonna have that weird kid, or oh, I knew a weird kid that was homeschooled, and that was honestly just BS.
And let me just say, I'm sure that we can think of a couple of weird people in public school as well. We both went to public school. Just because you go to public school doesn't mean you make a ton of friends. Just because you go to public school doesn't mean that you have a great, enjoyable time. Not all socialization is positive, and I think that those are the key things that people forget when they ask these questions, and where they think that socialization only happens in a classroom that you can't talk in most of the time, that you only get certain socialization time a day.
So to answer the specific question about how do we socialize our children, us, how we do it is in many different ways. Primarily the main one is going to be with their activities that they have scheduled every week. They've developed relationships, they've developed friends, and they've shared their phone numbers, and they've shared their accounts on Roblox.
Something that I've also realized as well is that they're still very young to have these friends that, you know, come over or that we go to their house or drop our kids off. Like, I don't think most parents that have like 8 and 9 year olds are just gonna go drop off their kid at somebody's house that they don't really know that well. So we're in a kind of a weird spot where they get socialization at their activities, whether it's at their gymnastic classes or at the rec. We also sign them up for classes every few months, seasonally, usually at the rec, so they get socialization there as well.
Also, I love taking them to the park. It's how I get to live vicariously through them. When I was little, I would love to go to the park, and they constantly make little new friends, and they're like trying to exchange numbers and be like, all right, we're gonna come here again next Thursday at 6. Are you gonna be here? Also, there are homeschool groups in our area that we've gone and met up with other homeschoolers, and I highly encourage those events because you network with the same people that are doing kind of the same thing that you're doing. Our kids are also able to see like, hey, I'm not this anomaly that I'm homeschooled. There's so many other kids that are homeschooled.
And another way that I feel like they are getting socialization is that they get to spend more time with family. So they see my mom very often. She comes over a few times a week. They go to her house weekly for the day usually. Ramses sisters, they work nights, they work, you know, crazy schedules, and you know, they call us like, hey, can I come over? And hey, you know, and they like to take the kids to go get ice cream, to go to the store and go hang out. And you know, I've realized that if they were in school, you know, we probably wouldn't have as much freedom to be able to let them go and do those things. So they do spend a good amount of time with their tias. My sister as well, she works like a bank, she works at a bank, so she works banker's hours, so she works a lot. So they get to, you know, kind of on their days off, whether it's during the week, most of the time it's like during the week, you know, they can just come and drop by and hang out with them here, or take them to go do. They're at an age now where they can just pick them up and take them to go do stuff. So I feel like that's a huge plus, you know, of being socialized. Like, socialization isn't just going to school and being with kids your own age. Like, our kids are very confident in talking to adults and and socializing with little kids. They love like seeing babies and like little toddlers. Like, we have a friend that, you know, has younger kids and they love socializing with them. My cousin, she has a 2-year-old, and when he comes over, the girls love just like, you know, catering to him. So, you know, also watching your children and how they interact with other kids. And, you know, I feel like now that they're 9 and 8, and then Mavis is 4, and she's probably the most socialized child out of our 3 kids. She has no problem saying hi to people, going up to kids and saying, if you want to, you know, play, like at gymnastics, she says hi to the teen girls there and she gives them hugs. And so she's definitely the most socialized. But I think that if we felt like there was some sort of issue, like where, you know, they were very sheltered or they were very timid, or it was a problem, you know, then you know, we would address it. We don't know everything. We've never known anyone close to us that homeschooled, so we're also, you know, taking it day by day, you know, year by year. And I feel like they're very well socialized.
Yeah, and I think to speak on overall socialization, they really see how we model the behavior, and they see a lot of different perspectives from different adults and different children in their life on how you talk to people and what you do. For example, one of their classmates in gymnastics, they get along with them a lot, and they told me, oh, I really want to do a play date. So I told them, all right, well, after class, I'm going to go talk to the parents, and you guys can come with me, and, you know, we're going to ask them for a play date, basically. So they get to see those human adult interactions and modeling that behavior and kind of walking them through, you know, my thought process and what I was going to do. And I think a lot of the socialization aspect is instilling confidence in them. So kind of taking advantage of those opportunities when they have to ask for something for a stranger, like ordering food or asking someone where do we have to go sit at, and really encouraging those interactions, but really modeling that behavior and showing them that, you know, they are valued, and not just because they're kids they can't go talk to an adult.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's definitely been something that we've had plenty of conversations about, because when you go to school, you know, you are taught that the teacher, the principal, all the adults in the school you have to listen to them. If they tell you you have to go here, you have to do this, you have to listen. You know, there's no, and I'm not saying like, to argue or to be argumentative or anything like that, but you don't have much autonomy when you go to school. So they're very used to being able to question or to, you know, or for us to tell them like, hey, you know, just because somebody's an adult, that doesn't mean they get to disrespect you or they get to tell you, you know, certain things. And, you know, it allows us the time for us to have those hard conversations with them and for them to understand age appropriately those situations, and how sometimes adults do take advantage of kids, or sometimes adults do use their authority to just, you know, make kids do what, you know, they want them to do, kind of thing. So I think that's something that really dawned on us the older the kids got as well. So I'm glad that we can, you know, do that for them and have those conversations with them.
So thank you for watching. I hope you gained a little bit of insight from our FAQs that we get.
If you guys have any comments, if you guys have any other FAQs that you guys get that maybe we didn't touch on, leave them in the comments for maybe another part 2 FAQs. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Also, like the video if you want me to do more videos with Ramses. We've been contemplating doing some more parenting, relationships, marriage, you know, all the vibes. So let me know in the comments, and we'll see you guys in our next video.
Bye.
Bye.